I had been sitting at the table in the cozy French bistro for 3 hours, but Leo Vance still hadn't arrived. The candle on our table had long since burned down to a waxy puddle. I stopped counting how many times I had called his phone, or the number of text messages I'd sent, each one disappearing into a digital void with no reply. Given his demanding job as a lawyer, delays weren't unheard of, but this felt different. I fought down the knot of anger in my stomach and finished the dinner I had ordered for us by myself. After the meal, I found myself aimlessly scrolling through videos on my phone to pass the time. My thumb paused on a live stream that had appeared on my feed. In the center of the screen, a man in a sharp black suit was on one knee inside a large heart made of red roses. He was holding up a ring, proposing to a beautiful woman in a flowing white dress. With tears in her eyes and a radiant smile, she accepted, and he slid the ring onto her finger as the surrounding crowd erupted in cheers. The two of them stood and shared a long, passionate kiss. I couldn't get a clear look at the man's face, but his build and the way he held himself felt eerily familiar, unsettlingly similar to my boyfriend Leo. I leaned closer to my screen, trying to see more, but the live broadcast abruptly ended. I was left with a strange, anxious question hanging in the air. By the time I gave up and left the restaurant, it was already 3 in the morning. Leo still hadn't come, and my earlier calls and messages remained unanswered. It was clear he had completely forgotten about our anniversary plans for tonight. Seeing other couples walking hand in hand only amplified my loneliness and frustration as I made my way home alone. It wasn't until noon the following day that Leo finally walked through the apartment door. The moment he saw me, he rushed forward, wrapping me in a tight hug. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I stood you up last night," he murmured into my hair. "Things at the firm got completely out of hand, and I had no choice but to stay and work through the night." "Let go of me," I said, my voice cold as I struggled against his embrace. The anger from the night before was still fresh. Leo knew I was upset and only held me tighter, refusing to release me. He simultaneously pushed a small gift box into my hands. "Darling, this is your anniversary gift," he explained softly. "Last night was a really unusual situation. I worked straight through until dawn. Please, will you forgive me? I love you so much." His voice was thick with exhaustion. Looking at the dark circles under his eyes and his pale face, my resolve began to waver. Seeing that I wasn't pushing him away anymore, Leo quickly opened the gift box and fastened the platinum necklace it contained around my neck. "That necklace is perfect for you. It looks beautiful, honey," he said, his eyes sincere. "I am so sorry I missed our date. I promise the next time I have a day off, I will make it up to you with an even better one, okay?" His gaze was so earnest that I couldn't help but soften completely. "Just this once," I conceded. "If something like this happens again, we're through." No, it won't. I promise there won't be a next time," Leo hastily assured me. With the tension broken, we fell back into our usual comfortable rhythm. He yawned deeply and headed to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. The moment he was gone, I grabbed my laptop to look up the price of the necklace. I wanted to get him a gift of equivalent value, to be fair. To my surprise, I found that this particular necklace wasn't sold on its own. It was a complimentary gift that came with the purchase of a matching pair of diamond rings. Those rings were valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars, making the necklace worth only a tiny fraction of their price. Suddenly, the image of the live-streamed proposal flashed in my mind. A deep, unsettling feeling began to take root in my gut. I went into the bathroom and rifled through the pockets of the suit he'd worn, but I found nothing. I walked back into our bedroom. Leo was sound asleep, his handsome face looking peaceful and unguarded. I quietly picked up his phone from the nightstand, unlocked it with his fingerprint as he slept, and began to search. The call logs, messages, and photo gallery were all pristine, so clean that it made me wonder if I was just being paranoid. But I knew I wasn't. The mystery of where those expensive rings were remained. When Leo woke up, he told me he had to go back to the office again. "The firm is incredibly busy right now and we're understaffed," he said with a troubled look. "I really can't get away. Please understand, sweetheart." I didn't say a word. I just watched from the window as he drove off. As soon as his car was out of sight, I hailed a taxi and told the driver to follow him. Leo didn't go to his office. He pulled up in front of a high-end hotel. A few moments later, a tall, stunningly beautiful woman walked out of the entrance. It was the same woman from the live stream. Leo got out of his car, immediately wrapped her in an embrace, and they began talking intimately before sharing a long kiss. As they stood there, something on her finger caught the sunlight, glinting so brightly it almost hurt to look at. I knew instantly that it was one of the diamond rings. He had been afraid I would find it, so he hadn't brought it home, hiding it in his car instead. In that moment, I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. No matter how much I didn't want to believe it, the truth was unavoidable. Leo was cheating on me. I watched as he gallantly opened the car door for her, and they drove off together. I had my taxi follow them all the way to that same French restaurant where I had waited for him alone. They got out of the car holding hands and walked inside, looking for all the world like a perfectly happy, devoted couple. I covered my mouth with my hand to stifle a sob. It was only on our anniversary that he had sworn he would love me forever, and we had even talked about getting married within the next year. Now our entire 5-year relationship felt like a cruel joke. I felt like all my strength had evaporated. My body was numb, and I don't even remember how I managed to get back home. I collapsed onto the sofa and let myself cry, releasing all the pent-up sorrow and pain because I knew with absolute certainty that Leo wouldn't be coming home tonight. It took a long time for me to pull myself out of that state of overwhelming grief. Questions swirled in my mind. When did he start seeing her? How did they even meet? How long had this been going on? I opened the video app on my phone and searched for local marriage proposal. Unbelievably, her account was the first result. The video of the proposal had gone viral, with thousands of comments from people wishing them a long and happy life together. As I read the messages of congratulations, my vision blurred with fresh tears. In the video, the man's face was still mostly obscured, but there was no doubt in my mind that it was Leo. The video's caption told me everything I needed to know. Though we were forced to part years ago, we made a promise. If we were both still single after 6 years, we would find our way back to each other. After all the twists and turns, it's still you. #first love, #happiness. I couldn't help but let out a bitter, frustrated laugh. It was true. Leo was only in a relationship with me. He was, technically, still unmarried. I wiped the tears from my face, determined not to feel sad anymore. I wanted to put an end to all this pain. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Leo. Didn't you say you wanted to make it up to me with another date? Let's meet at the French restaurant tomorrow night. You have to be there this time, or we are breaking up. After sending the text, I started packing. I sorted through my belongings, taking what was mine and throwing away anything that reminded me of him. That platinum necklace went straight into the trash can. Then I took a bus and left the city that night. By the time I arrived at my parents' house, it was already the next day. I saw that Leo had replied, agreeing to our date. I didn't respond. The thought of him going to the restaurant and waiting for someone who would never show up gave me a strange sense of both satisfaction and deep sorrow for the 5 years of my life I had wasted. I put on makeup, changed my clothes, and went to a nearby bar with some old friends, planning to drink until I couldn't feel the real world anymore. Accompanied by my friends, I lost track of how many drinks I had. The last thing I remembered was someone carrying me home. I could faintly hear my mom's voice complaining, "This child has gone completely mad, drinking so much. Thank you for bringing her home, Ethan." The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache. As soon as I turned on my phone, it was flooded with a barrage of notifications. Dozens of missed calls and messages, all from Leo. The most recent one, sent at 4 in the morning, read, "Where are you? I've been waiting for you all night. Why are all your things gone from the apartment?" A cold laugh escaped my lips. I forwarded him the photos I had taken of him with the other woman, along with a link to the proposal video. I followed it up with a string of angry curses and then blocked his number and all his social media accounts. After doing all that, a profound sense of relief washed over me, though I couldn't shake a lingering sadness in my heart. I spent the next few days in a lethargic daze, not wanting to do anything but slowly process the end of my relationship. One afternoon, a knock came from my bedroom window. Clara Abbott, come out and play. The familiar voice immediately brought a name to mind. Ethan Hayes, my childhood friend who had grown up next door. As soon as I opened the window, his handsome, kind face came into view. It was him. He smiled at me and asked, "You've been back for a while now. How come I haven't seen you out and about?" "I just don't feel like going out," I replied weakly. He took a few steps closer, his expression turning serious as he studied my face. "What's wrong with you?" he asked gently. I knew he was referring to my eyes, which were still puffy from all the crying. "Nothing, just a breakup," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. His eyes crinkled into a warm smile as he looked at me. "If it's a breakup, you just have to move on to the next one." "Yeah, I know," I said, not wanting to talk about it anymore. I was about to turn back to my bed when I heard him speak again. "For example," he said, his voice soft, "what do you think of me?" I almost didn't believe what I had heard. After the initial shock wore off, I turned and glared at him. Is this some kind of joke? Ethan stood up straight, his expression completely serious. "I'm not joking, Clara. I mean it. What do you think about me? Would you consider giving me a chance?" I was completely thrown by the situation and stammered, "But I just broke up with someone. You don't mind that?" He shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "I don't mind." Then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, he added, "I've liked you for many years, Clara." I couldn't make a decision right then. An awkward silence hung between us. In the end, I didn't agree, mostly because I just didn't have the emotional energy to even think about starting a new relationship. But Ethan was persistent. He came to see me every single day. Sometimes he brought a bouquet of my favorite flowers. Sometimes he brought pastries from the bakery we used to love as kids. And sometimes he would bring his little dog over to play just to cheer me up. Without even realizing it, I started to let my guard down around him. "Clara, would you like to go for a walk together?" he asked me one afternoon. This time, I didn't refuse. I simply nodded in agreement. His eyes curved into a happy smile that was both pure and gentle. We walked along the quiet path in the local park, and Ethan gently took my hand. I didn't pull away. I tacitly accepted his gesture. "Clara!" At that very moment, a furious and all too familiar voice shattered the peaceful afternoon. I turned around, and sure enough, I saw Leo standing not far away. I couldn't believe he had actually tracked me all the way to my parents' home. He stormed toward us, his face contorted with rage, and raised his fist as if he was about to hit Ethan. I immediately jumped in front of Ethan, blocking his path. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded. Leo looked absolutely livid, grinding his teeth as he spat. "What do you think I'm doing? I'm going to beat up this homewrecker." The sight of him filled me with irritation, and his accusation was so absurd it was almost laughable. "Leo, how dare you question me? If I hadn't found out what you were doing, I would have been the other woman in your new engagement." Leo was instantly speechless. He stammered, "Let me explain." He looked like a pathetic clown to me. "Explain what?" I said impatiently. "Get out of here. I never want to see you again." Leo's face trembled with anger. He pointed a shaking finger at Ethan and said, "If I have to leave, he has to go too." I immediately tightened my grip on Ethan's hand. "Don't you get it? You're the one who needs to leave. He's my boyfriend now." "I never agreed to break up," Leo shouted angrily. I gave a cold, mocking laugh. "You're already engaged to someone else, and you're saying you don't agree to break up with me? What, you want to have both?" Leo fell silent, unable to find a response. I glanced at him with disdain and said coldly, "Please don't ever appear in front of me again. The sight of you makes me sick." For the first time, Leo seemed to actually face the reality of the situation. He lowered his eyes, his voice somewhat choked. "I know I was wrong. I never intended to marry her. It was only after you left that I realized I can't live without you. What I felt for her wasn't love, it was just greed." He raised his head, his gaze a mixture of apology and pleading. "Clara, I shouldn't have done this to you. Can you please give me another chance?" "Of course not." My voice was firm. I rolled my eyes at him. "A scumbag like you doesn't deserve one." Leo just stared at me, silent. I didn't want to waste another second on him, so I grabbed Ethan's hand to leave. But he moved to block our path, refusing to let us pass. His eyes were fixed on our intertwined hands, as if he could burn a hole through them with his stare. Ethan seemed to have reached his limit. He let go of my hand and looked ready to charge at Leo. My heart skipped a beat. To prevent a fight, I quickly stepped in front of Ethan, then turned and gave Leo a hard shove. "Get out of my way! Even a dog knows not to block a path." "I'm not leaving," Leo said, his eyes looking wild and red with anger. "Clara, I'll say it again. I did not agree to this breakup." "Who cares if you agree or not?" I gave him an exasperated look, then took Ethan's arm and walked around him. This time, Leo didn't stop us. He just stood there, looking utterly dejected and heartbroken. But I couldn't bring myself to care at all. The very next day, Leo actually showed up at my front door, carrying several expensive-looking gift bags. I grabbed a broom from the porch and tried to chase him away. My mom, who didn't understand what was happening, rushed out and stopped me. "Clara, what's going on? Why are you trying to hit him?" "Mom, he's a scumbag," I said. Before I could say more, Leo interrupted. With a thud, he dropped to his knees on the pavement. "Auntie, I was foolish and did something terrible to Clara. I'm here today to apologize to her and to beg for your forgiveness." After he spoke, he bowed his head and touched it to the ground 3 times with a loud, hollow sound. My mother looked bewildered. "What on earth did you do that warrants all this?" "Young man, get up first and then we can talk." Leo glanced at me. "Auntie, Clara won't forgive me, so I'm not getting up." I just let out a cold laugh. To avoid making a scene, I pulled my mom into the kitchen and quickly explained the entire situation. After she heard the story, it was my mom's turn to grab the broom. With a furious expression, she stormed back outside, waving it at him. Get out of here. You are not welcome in our house." "Auntie," Leo tried to argue, but my mom's broom left him dodging and weaving uncomfortably. He forced a smile and said, "Auntie, I really do know that I was wrong. I hope you can give me another chance." Seeing that he was still refusing to leave, my mom swung the broom directly at his face. At that point, Leo could no longer stay and had to get up and walk out of our gate. My mom promptly threw all of his gifts out onto the street after him and locked the front door. Standing on my tiptoes to see over the garden wall, I saw that Leo was now kneeling on the sidewalk right outside our gate. This time, I was genuinely furious with him. With all the shouting, our neighbors had started to notice. Several of them poked their heads out to see what was going on. Spotting a grown man kneeling on the pavement, their curiosity got the better of them, and they approached Leo to ask what was happening. Before long, they had the whole story, or at least his version of it. A few of them called out towards our house. "He really seems to know he was wrong. He came all this way to apologize so sincerely. Just forgive him. He looks so pitiful out there in the cold. Why don't you let him come inside and warm up? Clara's mom, he promised he'll never do it again." I pretended not to hear any of it. I calmly went inside and dialed the police. A short while later, a patrol car arrived. Leo, who had stubbornly refused to move, had no choice but to stand up when he saw the officers. As they were leading him to the car, he turned back to look at me, his eyes filled with a deep resentment. Ethan arrived at my house after everything had calmed down. He said to me, "Seriously, if this ever happens again, you need to call me right away." I nodded, telling him I understood. After he left, my mom immediately started questioning me relentlessly. I couldn't hide the truth about Ethan and me anymore and had to tell her everything. After listening, my mom nodded approvingly. "Ethan seems like a wonderful guy," she said. "You're both not getting any younger. Why don't you get engaged first and then you can think about marriage later?" I was a little startled by the suggestion, but it didn't sound like a bad idea. At least for now, I was willing to imagine a future with Ethan. After I discussed it with Ethan, he happily agreed to the engagement. Since it was just an engagement party, we kept it simple, setting up a few tables in my parents' backyard for a celebration with close family and friends. On the day of the party, we both wore festive red outfits. Under the warm wishes of our loved ones, everyone raised their glasses to toast our future. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the gate to the yard was violently forced open. Leo burst in, his eyes bloodshot. He shoved over tables and chairs, overturning everything in his path as he charged straight toward us. His actions were frenzied and destructive, as if he intended to smash the entire party to pieces. My family and friends, who had already heard about his behavior, quickly moved to block him. It took several people to finally subdue him. I quickly called the police. Thinking of the sadness of his betrayal, the pain of the breakup, and now this endless harassment, I couldn't contain my anger any longer. I walked right up to him and slapped him hard across the face. The force of the blow snapped his head to the side. He seemed completely dazed, staring at me in stunned silence. A moment later, his eyes welled up with tears. His voice was laced with a wounded grievance. "You hit me." I looked at him, my face expressionless, and enunciated each word with cold clarity. "Yes, I was hitting you, you lunatic." Hearing this, he hastily lowered his head, trying to hide his tears in a flustered way. Not long after, the police arrived again. Facing their interrogation, he confessed to everything truthfully, his entire demeanor one of utter defeat, as if his heart had turned to ash. He obediently followed the officers out and didn't look back at me even once. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, thinking that this time he would finally be out of my life for good. Without Leo's interference, Ethan and I enjoyed a sweet, peaceful vacation together. After we returned, I decided it was time to end my period of unemployment and start looking for a job again. After several rounds of interviews, I accepted a position at a large company and settled into a normal 9-to-5 routine. Unfortunately, my peace was shattered again one day when a flood of gifts suddenly appeared on my desk at work. There were flowers, designer handbags, and all kinds of expensive jewelry. I sent a quick message to Ethan to ask if he had sent them, but he said he hadn't. In an instant, I knew exactly who was responsible. After work, I packed all the gifts into a large trash bag, intending to throw them all away. As soon as I reached the entrance of my office building, I saw Leo's annoying face. He was meticulously groomed, dressed in a sharp suit with his hair perfectly styled, showing off his handsome features. He walked toward me with a faint smile, acting as if nothing had ever happened between us. "Darling," Leo said softly, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "You must be tired after a long day. I've already booked a private room at a restaurant. Let's go get something to eat." I looked at him in utter confusion. "Leo, have you lost your mind?" I asked. He responded with a hurt expression. "Darling, why would you say that to me? Have I done something wrong?" I was too tired to deal with his games. "What do you actually want?" I snapped impatiently. "Why don't you go find your first love instead of bothering me all the time?" Leo blinked, looking pitiful and slightly aggrieved. "What are you talking about? What first love? You're the only person I've ever been in a relationship with." He looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "You are my first love, Clara. There is no other woman." I carefully observed his expression and realized with a jolt that he wasn't pretending. He genuinely seemed to believe what he was saying. I couldn't help but feel a sense of shock. It seemed Leo really had lost his mind. What on earth had happened to him? I pondered it for a moment, but then decided I couldn't be bothered to figure it out. His current state was just too bizarre. I just wanted to get away from him and cut all ties for good. I shoved the large bag of gifts into his hands and said flatly, "I have other plans. I have to go." I turned to leave, but Leo suddenly grabbed my hand. "Don't go!" I turned my head and glared at him. "Let go!" Leo pressed his lips together tightly, his expression incredibly stubborn. I felt extremely irritated and didn't want to get into a public struggle with him. At that moment, his phone began to ring incessantly, but he seemed to have no intention of answering it, just letting it vibrate in his pocket. Just then, I heard a woman's voice calling from a distance. "Son! Son!" I turned my head and saw a middle-aged couple hurrying toward us. Their features faintly resembled Leo's. The woman walked up to Leo and grabbed his arm. "Son, it seems you forgot to take your medicine again today. Come on, let's go home with Mom." "I'm not going," Leo resisted vehemently. The man, his father, frowned and scolded him. "You're seriously ill. Come back with us now." While they were struggling with Leo, I quickly pulled my hand free and turned to walk away. "Don't go!" A desperate voice called from behind me. "Clara, I'm begging you, don't go!" Leo seemed to have been startled by my departure. Then I heard hurried footsteps, and someone tugged at the hem of my shirt. Turning around, I saw Leo's mother's face. It was etched with worry and a pleading expression. You must be Clara, right? Ever since our Leo came back from your town last time, he's gone mad. Can you please save him? As his mother, I am begging you. I didn't let my heart soften. I directly refused. If he needs medical treatment, you should take him to a hospital. Don't come to me. I'm not a doctor. Leo's mother pleaded urgently. You can have anything you want. Money, a house, a car. As long as you agree, I can give it all to you. Leo was a huge problem that was impossible to shake off once you were involved. I shook my head and still refused. His mother stared at me for a moment, then suddenly burst into tears. I am really begging you, please save him. As she spoke, she bent her knees as if she was about to kneel. They really were cut from the same cloth, mother and son. I immediately reached out and supported her, preventing her from kneeling, but she clung to me tightly, unwilling to let go. Leo and his father stood a short distance away. Though his father didn't speak, he kept watching us, clearly hoping I would agree. Just as I was racking my brain for a way to escape this family, Ethan arrived. With an irresistible force, he pulled me away from the family and shielded me behind him. Ethan spoke in a calm, rational tone. Sir, ma'am, Clara already has a new partner now. You really shouldn't be disturbing her life anymore. Besides, isn't it better to leave professional matters to professionals? Hearing these words, they all fell silent for a moment. Then, Leo suddenly erupted in anger, stepping forward aggressively. Get out of my way. What right do you have to decide Clara's affairs? Ethan responded with an amused look. I don't have the right, but do you? Leo was so furious that his face turned pale. He suddenly swung his fist straight at Ethan's face. Ethan quickly dodged the punch, then countered by twisting Leo's arm behind his back and slamming him hard onto the ground. It all happened so fast that by the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already over. Sir, ma'am, Leo's mental state is so unstable that he might suddenly lash out and hurt someone at any moment, Ethan said calmly, effortlessly restraining Leo as he addressed his parents. If you don't keep a better eye on him, I'll have no choice but to call the police again. This time, he could very well be forcibly committed to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. You wouldn't want that, would you? Leo's mother hastily promised. No, don't worry. I guarantee he won't come to harass you again. Leo's father sighed at the sight, then made a phone call. Before long, a black car pulled up to the curb and a team of bodyguards got out. They dragged a struggling Leo to his feet and escorted him into the car. Just before they closed the door, Leo was still shouting, Mom, I don't want to go. I want Clara. I need her. His father stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face, furious at his defiance. Shut your mouth, he yelled. Then he turned to us and assured us, we'll have bodyguards watch him around the clock. We're taking him abroad for treatment. He absolutely will not get another chance to come and disturb you. Ethan nodded. I hope you'll keep your word. Leo's parents said nothing more and quickly got into the car. The street was suddenly quiet. I let out a long sigh of relief and looked at Ethan, unable to stop myself from saying, Thank goodness you arrived when you did. I was about to be driven crazy by that whole family. Ethan gazed at me tenderly, his eyes full of affection. So, how are you going to reward me? I took his hand and smiled. Let's go on a date. Ethan squeezed my hand tightly and softly agreed. After that day, Leo never bothered us again. On a beautiful, sunny afternoon, Ethan and I went to the courthouse and got our marriage license, finally leaving the shadows of the past behind to embrace a peaceful and happy life together.